Hari Om Vasudevan ji, Hari Om Dr. Pushpa ji, Hari Om Arvind ji, Hari Om. Can just wait for a few more minutes. Ji, Hari Om.
Hari Om ji.
Hari Om ji. We have a few more minutes in hand. Once the participants join, we can start. If anybody wishes to look at any shloka, you're most welcome. If you want to discuss something also, we can look at it before the session starts. We will be starting the 8th Adhyay today. Hari Om Rajshri ji. Hari Om ji. Hari Om. Namaste ji. We have a couple of minutes in hand, 2 to 3 minutes. Any particular shloka, anything you wish to look at, we can look at that or we'll wait. Hari Om Savitri ji. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om Rakesh ji. We will be starting our 8th Adhyay today. Hari Om Dipti ji. Hari Om. Alright, we'll just wait for one more minute and then probably we can begin. Hari Om Dr. Poonam ji. Hari Om. Hari Om Milan ji. Alright, I think we can begin with the invocation. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhe Bhavatu Me Sada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om. Hari Om. So, yes, please. So, we are now entering what is the 8th Adhyay of the Gita. Before that, can someone just establish a link? Anything that we covered last, so we can catch up. Yes, please. What was it that we saw last? Yes, please. Anything that you recollect from what we saw last. So our link is established.
Krishna was saying that he was the heat of the fire, strength of
Ji.
the essence of everything.
Yes, he is the seed, he is the source. Krishna is revealing to Arjuna Now probably Arjuna is not asking, how can I believe you? Probably something inside of Arjuna is now accepting somewhere that yes, Krishna is there. Krishna knows. Krishna is a part of something which he does not know yet. So yes, he is understanding something divine about Krishna. And Krishna reveals that he is the father, he is the mother. Yes. Anything else you would like to add? Anyone?
um, what happened in past, present, what is happening in
Ha.
present, and what will happen in future. I know each and everything.
Every individual. Yes, yes. That was the difference we saw between Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna had answered this when Arjuna said, how can I trust you? Or how can I believe you that you thought the Surya, the truth, the sun is functioning on principles that have been founded by the divine. And he says, how can I believe that you were, because you were born afterwards, the sun was there before you. Then Krishna says, no, just like you, I too have had other births also. The difference between Arjuna and Krishna is that Krishna is conscious, he is aware of his births. Probably if Arjuna also gets aware, he will also become like Krishna, only Krishna Maya, only what we see. So here we see Krishna saying, I know for every single being, I know their past, I know their present, and I know their future. Means why a person is falling right now, we might feel, why is this happening? Sometimes good people leave us early and we wonder, what is this law, what rule is this, why should good people leave early, all such, why do wrong things happen? These are all questions which trouble us, but we know only from our myopic view of our current understanding and experience. But Krishna is knowing what was before, what is, and what is afterwards. He is a Trikalatit, we can say. So yes, that was one more point. Yes, Savitri ji. Anybody would like to add a little bit more?
We also saw the four roots of devotion:
Okay. Ji,
suffering,
ji, ji,
uh, bhakti, knowledge,
ji,
and
ji,
seekers of greater good.
ji,
These
ji.
were the four roots of devotion.
Yes.
And then we also touched upon Prayan Kala
Okay.
when
Okay.
he was
Ji, ji,
the
ji. Yes, yes, Swati ji. So this was also what we saw. Dr. Punim ji was adding. Anything you would like to add further?
Yes, I had a question last time also,
Ji.
but before that, I'll just start. In the seventh chapter, when Krishna says that I will tell you Jnana Vijnana. So I could not understand the difference between Gyan and Vijnana.
Gyan and Vigyan. Okay.
Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. He said,
Yes, yes.
aside something.
Yes,
And
yes.
then he says, कि Manishyanam Sahasreshu, one person will
Yes.
be able to know me even out of those
Yes.
one day.
Yes.
Then he says the eight things, the
Ashtada Prakriti.
Ashtadha Prakriti.
Ji, ji.
And out of that he said, what is Apara
Higher.
and
What is
Para?
Apara? Ji.
And then he said, I am the cause of this and I am in this like a
Sutre Maniganaiva. Yes. Ji, ji, ji. Like a thread
and
necklace.
this everything is he is the beach.
Okay. Bijam. Aham. Hmm. Yes, ji. Yes, ji.
Beach something he said. Then he said that only the bhava, the
Is
guna,
important. Huh.
triguna, tribhi, gunamai, something like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. About Maya. Maya is functioning because of the force of the Prakriti.
And he is the cause of all the things, and his Maya is very different.
And but we can go out of his Maya. Can we go out of the Maya? Is that what?
Only God,
Only if
only
God. Okay.
Akhanda Shraddha and
Akhand
Bhakti.
Shraddha. Maya metam tarantite. But you want to reach divine, you'll have to cross Maya. Otherwise, you are going to be trapped. It's like a child toy has been given. Sometimes parents don't know how to manage their very little children because they are busy with some other works. So what do? They go and give the child a toy to play with. Now that child, it's a very silly toy for the adult, but for the child that keeps that child busy for the entire day. Parent can finish the work and come back. My mother had a very innovative way. She would give me two glasses of water. One glass had water, the other did not. So I would keep, I don't know, she taught me this game where I have to just pour from one glass to the other. the other back. And this would go on for, she said that would keep you busy for 1 hour, so I could look after the other things. She also had to go to the hospital. But he said then you would play with the water after it has spilled also. That was no problem for you. So that is how Maya is. It keeps us trapped. We don't know, and the only way we can know the truth is when we surrender, when Sharan is there. Or Smaran and Sharan both are there at the same time. We saw a little story of Narada as well, how Maya traps even the great Munis like Narada. He is an exalted Muni. He is a Muni which Krishna will describe as a Vibhuti later on. So a great representative of the divine. So even such a person can get trapped. So that is, then we should also be alert and vigilant, or we will not know. Because in Maya, our ahankar is only existing, Krishna is not. We are away from Krishna because of our ahankar. So this is again not our fault. We can blame Prakriti for it. How do we come out of it? Later on we can see. So this one more thing is there about Maya. Then the ways of devotion, Krishna says it does not matter as long as Shraddha is there. Different people approach different ways, but they are all approaching to the same. But the person who does not have Shraddha will never understand. The person is bewildered. At sometimes Shraddha is not there, that results in all the problems. Somewhere we need to have a Shraddha. Everybody has a Shraddha Sthan in the heart of hearts. Whether a person is a theist or an atheist or agnostic, whichever way. Agnostic person also, wherever, somewhere there is a Shraddha Sthan, something that person believes, a Tarka or something else. So that Shraddha Sthan is so important, because if it's not there, and when it is the highest, it is easiest to escape from Maya, is what Krishna seems to imply. That was one more thing we saw. Interestingly, now Arjuna is not questioning Krishna. Whenever Krishna says Sutre Manigana Iva, or I am the Bija, he is not saying Krishna, you? No, he says, he's probably absorbing, assimilating, and he's saying, yes, Krishna is not simply taking his pains to talk to me, he has an experience. This probably somewhere, what in Tarka they call Shabda Pramana, means the Pramana of a very verified or reliable source. In modern medicine also, we call it peer-reviewed journals, where peer-reviewed journals are considered source for quotation and citation, something like that. Krishna is now suddenly, he does not need to be further verified what Krishna is saying for Arjuna. It's like a child's mother. When the mother says, I am your mother, the child does not say, give me your birth certificate or show me a DNA match between me and you. No, the child understands, because this is the Shraddha of the child. Well, something like that. Let us go on. Krishna says this, and then he introduced something. He says this Bandhana is there, this cycle is there, Punarapi Janama, Punarapi Marana. Well, that moksha can come. He says you can get free from this when you take refuge, when you take the Sharana of the divine. And he says when you recognize that I am the Adidev, I am the Adiyagnya, even at Prayankal, some people are able to maintain it up to Prayankal. Those ones, they become one with me, is what Krishna says. So this is one thing. And yes, Dr. Poonamji had asked about Dhyana and Vijnana. What is the difference? Well, what we can say, one is the fundamental knowledge, wisdom, source of that. And the second is functioning on that, we can say. It's like, it is later on we'll say Adhyatma Vidya, Vidyanam is the highest Vidya or highest knowledge. So, what is that aspect that science is also expressing? Science is expressing something, and that which is beyond science, that is what is Vijnan. Means, for example, we can say we know gravity's value, but why is it this gravity's value? Why have we arbitrarily assigned this, or why is it 9.8? This is one more deeper study which we try to go and understand, and then some other principles are understood. We can say Jnana allows us to transcend Jnana and go to Vijnana also. When Krishna says ultimately I am the gnosis, later on in the Gita, Jnanam Jnayam Jnanagamyam comes, where I am the source, I am the wisdom, and through me, through this also you will realize me only. So this is the, what we can say, the flux, everything ultimately Sarvam Krishnamayam only. And it is interesting when we get that realization, of course, because otherwise one wonders, what is this? One person had asked me this question as well. Is not Krishna very egoistic when he says this all the time? Now, that was a very senior person. Then when I replied and answered to him, then there was a big smile on his face, and it was just like he wanted to only test. He also knew Krishna is not egoistic. Soham is not ahankar of aham. Soham of the Vedic Rishis, when they say Soham, it is not some individualistic ego that I am the universe. They have actually connected with some source in their meditation. They have gone deep into their consciousness. Suddenly they are able to see that oneness. That oneness inside of that Rishi is the oneness which is everywhere in the universe. So that realization has come from a sakshatkar or a realization, and here Krishna is speaking and his words are having a value. They are having a value which Arjuna has also started giving. Otherwise, look at how Arjuna was in the first adhyaya. He was questioning, he was doubting, even doubting Krishna's motive, forgetting all that Krishna has done for preventing the war, asking if this great emperor, was it for wealth that we are engaging in this? If it was for wealth, why on earth would Krishna give his Narayani Sena to the opposite side? Why on earth would he become a charioteer who is, which is not a very, what we can say, for an emperor, that's hardly a position. That's nothing for, and it's almost an insult for an emperor to become a charioteer of somebody, and that to whom? Just Arjuna, not even Yudhishthira. It's Arjuna's charioteer. What is the meaning of this? But no, Krishna has a different purpose. All of that, somewhere Arjuna was lost in his emotions. He could not recognize or find that purpose. Slowly, slowly. Now we see at least to a point where Arjuna is not snapping the moment Krishna speaks. He is allowing Krishna to speak. And now we're going to see some questions from Arjuna. Maybe now Arjuna is going to start asking the right questions, because sometimes questions go in circles. We have 1,000 questions, but the answer never comes. Only the questions keep changing and they're all trying to reach something, but that answer is never got. Then sometimes the gurus say, yes, you need to start asking the right questions. Then only you will find the right answer. Otherwise, it's like 100,000 Google searches people do. Something like that. You will give so many results, but how much of that result is transformed into a sakshatkar? It's nothing, it's just information. So information needs to be processed, become understanding, then understanding must be imbibed and then translate into a realization. Then we get the experience. Otherwise, it is all on the surface only. So this we are ready to enter into 8th adhyay. I'll share the illustration of the 8th adhyay. Please have a look at it. It is connected with the adhyay. We will see that as the adhyay proceeds. Hari Om. Can someone describe this illustration? And there's a small typing mistake. It should be consecration should have S instead of C. What do we see in the image? It's a fairly simple image. Yes, can someone describe what do you see there? What is visible in the image?
What does consecration?
Consecration is when you are devoting your actions in offering, like we saw that verse no, of Adi Shankaracharya. Yadyat karma karomi.
Concentration in action.
Yes, ji?
Concentration in action.
Yes, yes, concentration and answer and offering it, consecrating it for the divine. Like Adi Shankaracharya's famous words, Yadyat karma karomi tadakhilam shambho tavaradhanam. So every karma that has got consecrated. Yes, yes, please. Yes, 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 sir. Ji, ji, ji. Absolutely. Yes, so can somebody describe this image so we can quickly enter into the adhyay? What do we see in the image?
Is it, as we said, Indriya, Man, Buddhi, and then that?
Okay.
So, if I see here,
Hmm.
person in the picture is really happy
Okay.
because uh, he has the concentration, devotion, and dedication towards the divine.
Okay. Okay. Is that a person and looking like an ordinary man, or is it looking like something different?
No, no, the person has a wheel here,
Like a Superman, is it not? He's got a cape
like a
and
Superman, like
yes. Okay.
It looks like, I mean, you have reached particular level where you're not bothered of anything. He's very happy in that particular space
Confident,
because
we
he
can
is
say.
connected to something else.
Yes.
Confident.
there's a confidence radiating from this child there in the image, and the child is looking definitely happy, and then like an atom around him are revolving three spheres. One is okay, all right. Anybody would like to add further to what Dipti ji says? Yes, Savitri ji.
All the things are moving around one person.
Okay. And what are they? What are the things that are moving around? The spheres?
Yes.
One.
It may be the soul.
No, or we can say, as Vasudevanji said first, it was consecration. That is one. Then there is concentration, and then there is devotion. So when all three are there around that individual, we're obviously seeing a very confident individual. Just let us look at the tagline, and we'll see how it makes, what is the gist of this adhyay, and probably we'll find the link later on. Concentration, consecration, and devotion are the three qualities that Krishna identifies to be most beneficial. So for a sadhak also, for a champion, for a sadhak, great realized individual also, these three are very important is what we can see. So let us enter into the adhyay. Let us see how it is connected, how these three qualities are connected with this 8th adhyay. This adhyay is the adhyay on death. Krishna is going to talk about it because Arjuna is asking about it. Let us see. Arjuna uvacha किम तत् ब्रह्म किम अध्यात्मम किम कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतम च किम प्रोक्तम अधिदैवम किम उच्यते. What is this perception that is known as Brahma? What can be truly termed as a self's karma? What phenomenon dominates the material existence? Oh Krishna, who was the first god that came into existence? We look at one more. There are two questions. Arjuna is having suddenly somewhere this Prayana Kala Shabda has pricked Arjuna somewhere, and immediately he is asked this question. He says, what is this? Kim Tat Brahma? Kim? Kim Adhyatmam? Kim Adi Atma? What is that first Atman which was there before? He says, what is this? What phenomenon dominates material coexistence? Who was the first god, O Krishna? He goes on, Adi Yajnaha Katham Kotra Dehesmin Madhusudana Prayana Kale Cha Katham Neyosi Niyatatmabhihi. What was the first sacrifice? What was this great yajna? You say Nityam Yajna Pratishtitam. We have studied all of this. Brahmarpadam Brahma, where when the concept of yajna is introduced. But what was the first yajna? He's asking. What was the first yajna? What was the first sacrifice in the physical? Oh Krishna, how was it in the embodied being practical? Krishna, how was it practical in this physical body? At the time of death, where does the soul further go? Your existence is truth. How can one really know? He says that after that prayana kala, what happens? Where does the soul go? What is the journey? How is it taking place? He says, how can I know your truth? Now my question is, how is Arjuna's question here right now? Because we have seen Arjuna's questions before. He says, no, I don't understand. Krishna, yat Shreya, tell me what is correct. Don't talk about two things. Don't confuse me. This kind of attitude was there. He had also told, my mind is only wind. What examples of wind you are giving to me? What is the difference in, is there a same Arjuna right now, or do we see a slightly different Arjuna right now, and how is he different? Yes, please. Yes, anybody. How is Arjuna different now?
Asking questions, giving answers.
No, but he is asking questions. Earlier also he was asking Vasudevanji. So what is different in these questions now?
Earlier he was doubting or he was not believing certain things, and he was more talking about himself, thinking about how he is feeling.
Yeah.
Now he is asking about the beginning of things that we believe in, Brahma or
Means,
Krishna.
but he doesn't know it, no, Diptiji. But he doesn't know it, no.
He
He
wants to
wants.
answer because now he's not asking random questions,
Okay.
which is confusing. He wants to understand what Krishna has said.
Okay.
He's starting from
Okay.
that. So he's making
Okay.
more logical
Acha.
questions.
Okay, Diptiji feels it's more logical. All right, Savitriji wants to add. Yes, please.
Previously, his question was related to relations.
Mm-hmm.
Now the quality of question is increasing.
Okay.
And, yes.
Okay. Yes, Savitriji is saying now the questions depth is also increasing. There's a deeper quality in these questions. And if you see, this is the difference between a sadhak and a skeptic. A skeptic will have 100 questions trying to justify or prove the view of the skeptic only. These questions are not to reach something which is what we say, the vijnana, or something which is higher, that higher truth. The skeptic is generally lost in his own understanding and limitation, but now he is trying to. These are all metaphysical questions which Arjuna is asking. What is happening in Prayan Kal? It is like, I think, yeah, how can one know what is going to happen after one dies? Somewhere he's got the Shraddha. Krishna's answers will give him something. Maybe he may not realize all of it, but he has a faith, and this Shraddha, he is taking the leap of faith and trying to go deeper and trying to gather something, see if the dots connect. Because he himself had so many experiences. Many times in life, we're not able to connect the dots. So many different experiences, they lie scattered. They're all leading to unknown directions. And then when we try to connect the dots, then something very interesting happens. And then we see, yes, all these dots are connected. Somewhere we see Arjuna moving towards that, and he is having confidence Krishna is going to answer, and he wants to know. He wants to know, what is this Adhideva? What is this Adi Agni? And he is not leaving his practical side. He says, how was it practical? How this yajna of the Srishti Nirman took place, he says. How was it practical in this physical world? The spiritual manifestation, how did that take place? Let us go on. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatmamuchyate Bhutabhavod Bhavakaro Visargaha Karma Sangitaha. The formless infinite is Brahma. It is thus perceived, and the immortal self's existence in nature is conceived. That sacrifice made at the moment of formation is the self's karma performed for every being's creation. He says there is something that is formless. Akshara Brahma. Kshara is that which is going to get destroyed. Well, there is something. We know this Srishti can go through Pralay. But even while the Srishti goes through Pralay, there is some supracosmic entity which is not destroyable, which is something beyond what is destruction and what is creation also. So that is the first Adi Dev, we can call it. He says the immortal self's existence in nature is conceived. You can conceive and understand. This is how you can see. He says, and the sacrifice made at the moment of formation is the self's karma performed for every being's creation. This is the sacrifice at the moment of creation. That is the karma. The first karma is the sacrifice that was performed. What was the sacrifice? Well, simple. It's like extremely akshara and powerful one entity. What has that entity done? Ekoham bahusyami. So why did that akshara entity not create another akshara entity only? No. The akshara entity created a kshara entity, meaning a more powerful one has chosen to become less powerful. What more can be a sacrifice than this? And who can make such a sacrifice? Sri Aurobindo in his beautiful Upanishad, which is called Sri Aurobindo Upanishad, he speaks about this only. Who can choose? Who can choose to become weak? Only somebody who is strong, not somebody who is weak and who has no choice, is it not? So the Supreme Paramatman has consciously, it's like a boxer entering into the ring, and he says, yes, I will not fight with my right hand, I'll use only one hand, my left hand. Now that's a sacrifice. Or instead I go to the kusti ring and say, no, I am sacrificing and not fighting. Well, no, I am not an experienced wrestler. Mine is not a sacrifice where I have done a choice. It's actually an escape from what I'm not capable of. So this is the sacrifice where the Srishti has been created. The act of creation of Srishti is the first karma, is the first sacrifice, where the supreme all-powerful one has consciously chosen to get hidden behind Maya. He is not there so much that he says, God, you are not existing. People say so many things. If God is so powerful, they say, why doesn't he come and cut my head off? I am making so much insults for him. No, that's a sacrifice he has done. He has given that choice in our hands. He has given this rules, all of it, and he is himself behind according to those rules. He is not coming to the front. Some crazy sacrifice. We don't really understand it. Probably we'll have to go to that consciousness to really try to grasp or get a glimpse of what was that state of mind, or what is this existence. But yes, that is the sacrifice what Krishna is talking about. He goes on, Adibhutam Sharo Bhavaha Purushashchadidaivatam Adhiyagno Ahamevatra Dehe Deha Bhrutamvara. Perishable is the nature of material coexistence. The first God is the omniscient transcendental existence. The first sacrifice is my dwelling in all physical beings or spaces, and I am also the receiving Lord of all their sacrifices. It says this is the nature of Srishti, which is Shara, it is perishable. Our world is made of Shara only. I think I am also made of skin and bones. One day these bones will crumble, one day this will disintegrate, because everything here is Shara. The first God is that Supreme One, the Adidevan, that Transcendental One. First sacrifice is this dwelling of the Supreme One inside all of us. Inside of all of us, we have been told, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka. We got introduced in the very second Adhyay. Krishna told, inside all of us is that Supreme All-Powerful One. But this all-powerful one is not visible. This is Maya. It's preventing us. That even made young Swami Vivekananda think, Agar tum ho to ye kyun hai? Why are you? If you are there, why is this existing? Because we cannot believe inside of us there is a cosmic supra one entity is there which is perfect, which is immaculate, which is pure. That supreme divine which is there inside. Well, that is a sacrifice that he is dwelling inside our Sharira also. I am the receiving Lord of all the sacrifices. So all these yajnas, nityam yajne pratishthitam, all the sacrifice of the world are going towards me, is what he says. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra sanshayaha. Let there be no doubt, he says. Nastyatra sanshayaha. Nasti any sanshaya. Let there be no doubts about what? He says, whoever while leaving the body remembers me at the time of death, if he can thus focused be of traversing the unknown realms, he will have no fear, and to the Supreme, my consciousness will take him near. So what is he saying? That being at the last moment, if he is able to focus while leaving the body, if that person can be focused on the divine, he shall have no fear of this unknown marga or the unknown path. He'll have no fear, and to him, the Supreme, my consciousness will take him near. That consciousness which is cultivated inside of that individual, that will act like a chumbak or a magnet, that will take you towards that divine consciousness, he says, and this fear shall not remain inside of that person. One thing is, most of the time what we don't know we fear. So that is why death is the most fearsome thing for a lot of people. Many people are most afraid and they don't understand this. Death is this, like in life they are all very strong, and until the last minute they hold on to everything that they have. But then when the last moment comes, then it's like a fish out of water situation. People don't understand it. But then there are also people who are very calm and peaceful in their last minutes. If you look at, I think all of us must have come across people in our life who have had their moments of prayan kal, or they have just passed away. But look at the life, different lives proceed in so many ways. Tukaram had actually said, "माझे मरण पाहिले म्या डोळा, काय वर्णू सोळा अनुपमा." Meaning, I saw death with my own eyes. What can I call about it? It was a celebration. It was like there was uncompared event of celestial celebration, is what he said in one of his abhangas. Meaning, what? He's not having fear. Instead, he's having the opposite feeling. So, what is the difference? What do you think is the reason for fear? Or what is the difference between Tukaram's perception and then their perception of fear of the last moment? What is something wrong with Tukaram here while having that perspective? Or what could be the reason for him to not have fear? Anybody?
Fear is usually fear of unknown.
Fear of unknown. Okay. Yes.
We don't know what's happening.
Ji ji. So
If we can transcend the fear, means we have faith, we can
yes, yes.
think this happen or something like that.
So Krishna is going to what? Krishna is going to come and pat our back. You did a good job. Now, what is there to worry about? With last moment, which is many times people have these. Excuse me.
You will get what you deserve.
Ji, ji, ji. Yes, yes. And one need not be afraid of also, because so many unknown, it's like fear breeds fear, further fear inside of an individual, because This is like this. If you look at Arjuna's case, Arjuna not only was afraid of death, he was afraid of society, he was afraid of what's going to happen in society, what's going to happen. He's about Naraka also, he had fear of his pitas. So all these things, and Krishna said, Arjuna, you don't know what was there before your birth. You know only until what you have experienced now. You don't know what is afterwards. Then when you are not knowing, how can you be so certain and afraid of or conscious of a worst case scenario? When you are not conscious, you don't have to. Interestingly, Kathopanishad, when we studied after Bhagavad Gita, the fear of Yama disappeared for all the participants. Some of them actually said, if Yama comes also, they're like, what? He's speaking same as Gita. So Yama and Krishna are one only. Probably if anybody sees Yama, they'll say, come on Yama, show me Krishna's roop. This roop, your buffalo is not scaring me at all. Because your Krishna is one more form. We don't really worry about it. Well, whatever it is, Krishna is saying here, that this person will not have any fear. Then it's like in the Rig Veda also it is talked about a goddess is there, like Usha is there, this goddess of the dawn. She takes the soul towards the light. It is what is described. Mrutang Kanchana Bodhayanti. It is how it gives the direction to those who have departed also. That light attracts and takes, it's like rays of light. Rashmimantam samudyantam devasura namaskrutam pujayami vivasvantam bhaskaram bhuvaneshwaram. It is said she is the Rashmi, she is there, and thousand rays, Shatadha Vartamanaha, Purusha Prajanam, Udayatesha Surya. Some brilliant light is there, that light is connecting and it takes the souls as they move ahead. The Jivatman moves ultimately towards that truth, is described. So Krishna says something about that, that yes, that consciousness inside of the individual, that consciousness that is cultivated inside of the individual, that takes the person ahead. यम यम वापि स्मरण भावम त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरम तम तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भाव भावितः. O Arjuna, when the physical body one leaves, at the time of departure, whatever one believes, the idea which is strong in his final contemplation, he takes that form and object of his imagination. So whichever person, while leaving the body at that time of departure, whatever is that person's thought, that consciousness, well, that is the form of the consciousness. Probably we understand that consciousness has also a force, and that force will take that particular form, is what Krishna is saying. That object which is there inside of the mind. Now, my question is, all this is good, but how does one know when is the time to leave the Kalevar, or when the body is going to be, when one has to leave? When does know about Prayan Kal? Does anybody know about the Prayan Kal? Do we know anybody who is conscious of Prayan Kal? Anybody? Have we met someone anytime, or anybody is conscious of it?
They say some gurus have predicted.
Okay, some gurus have predicted,
I
Vasudevan.
don't know.
You have not experienced. Okay. You have not. You have not heard of anybody here. Okay.
Heard of somebody, not
Seen, not met anybody. Okay. Ji. Anybody else? What do you think is it possible to know, or have you known many people sometimes share their relatives, their uncles or somebody else, they were conscious of their last moment in the beginning only. Actually, I have met one person, he actually told my mother, I am passing, and he gave a spelling, Passing. He gave the spelling and it's like, now is the time to move. He was so calm and peaceful. But the problem is, we do not know when is the last minute. So is this not a troublesome situation Krishna has put us in? We don't know the last minute, and he's saying that it's like when you go to that particular country, do like this kind of work. When you don't even know when you have to go or where you are going, all of this, how can you do the work there? Or how do you know what to do in this situation? Because Prayan Kal, we don't know when it's going to come. Krishna says, on the Prayan Kal, if you are able to be conscious of me, then you'll have nothing to worry. Many parents sometimes keep their name of their child also as God's name because they want to always say that name only. So it's easily, Japa is not done also, is alright. 100 times in the day they'll call their child's name. So at least that way the Japa takes place. But sometimes people do all wrong, full criminal life, and after retirement they decide, no, now I want to cultivate some punya, so I suddenly become completely, especially in the last when their health starts deteriorating, then they start saying certain things, all of it, assuming it will completely wipe everything. Now, is God so easily fooled? Or is it just about that last minute? Or how can we ensure that in the last minute, is there any solution, or we are all doomed or trapped? We don't know. So we'll never, it is all a matter of luck, like flipping a coin.
Continuous effort is to be made.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's not possible.
Okay, continuous effort. So is it not? Then why not worry about, why worry about the last minute only? Because Prayankal, why not? We have seen, why worry about Prayankal only when the life is where we can enjoy our life's moments in the company of the divine also at all times offer. Yes, Diptiji wants to add something. Okay.
We are also trapped. We are also stuck with our material things or the things we have around us. That what we call as Maya. I mean, we don't know what's going. So we are all like entrapped in that.
No, but the escape, what is the escape from Maya?
Escape from Maya is surrender.
Is it not? And if we are surrendering and we are conscious of the divine, will it make a difference? Will it make a difference? My Priyanka, let it come. It can come on my way now in the workplace today, or it can come tomorrow. It can come after 50 days. It can come after 50 years. Whatever is the time. That is.
It will because in our life, if we have a devotion, if we have that, we have. I mean, when we are conscious, when we know what's happening around us, when we have that surrender, so we have that belief that even what we call as afterlife or death, whatever it is.
Gigi, more than the belief, what we are saying is that consciousness, if we can cultivate at all times, then it's not a catch-22 situation. We don't have to worry what Priyankal now or later, whenever it has to, let it come. It's going to come to everybody sometime or the other. Yes, and because this Krishna is talking about something about the power of this consciousness. Now we see probably why dhyana is told. He's introduced dhyana to us because dhyana is something which allows us to cultivate a particular type of consciousness. Now we see the benefit of consciousness not just in life. Consciousness, good consciousness helps us control our indriyas. Good consciousness helps us to not get into unnecessary trouble fights with people. It allows us to see the higher truth, enjoy life better. Not just that, now we see beyond life also that good consciousness is going to help us. If you observe the most people who gracefully passed away many times, how a person moves in the last moments describes the state of consciousness of that individual. Most yogis who are very peaceful, very quiet, it is how are they doing that? Well, that's their state of consciousness. They're not worried. Otherwise, some people even in their last minute, no, this property will not go to that person. I'll see to that that person doesn't do this. No, even after I'm gone, my control must remain. These are all thoughts which till the last minute it becomes a very troublesome moment of letting go. But some of them it's like mrityor mokshiyam amritat, like that trayambakam yajamahe. It is urvarukam eva bandhanat, like that perfect cucumber which is just it ripe perfectly. You just have to touch it with a finger, and it separates from the stalk. You don't have to worry about pulling out anything. There's no pain. Also, it's a beautiful release. That is the state. Probably this is the difference. Krishna is going to introduce to us about yogis specifically because yogis are conscious. I've had the opportunity of knowing some people who knew their last moments, and we'll see that later on. But let us continue. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर युध्य च मयि अर्पित मनो बुद्धिर् मामे वैश्यसि असंशयः. So he says simple. He says in all your battles and actions, let your insight be fixed. Upon me, let your mind and intellect be affixed. At all times when you remember me constantly, O Arjuna, you shall then come to me. Certainly, Arjuna is entering a Mrityu Kshetra also. He says, don't worry, do your works, do your actions. Remember, have the smaran of the divine while doing your actions. That is all he is asking. He says, if you can do that, that is all he says. Just my arpita mano buddhi, your mind also, your buddhi also, offer it in surrender. You will come to me. Abhyas. This is a very beautiful shloka actually, which is really tells us the way of life as well. If we can just constantly, in a constant smaran of the divine. A lot of people feel that will take a person away from the world. It's not actually taking you away from the world. If you are conscious of the divine, you become more conscious. You can identify the smaller intricacies of life also. You can enjoy and relish the beauties of life as well. Otherwise, our ego makes us spoil everything only. So when we are conscious, well, not just in life, Krishna says, in all your actions, if you are doing that, you will come to me. Let there be no doubts, he says. अभ्यास योग युक्तेन चेतसा नान्य योगामिना paramam purusham divyam yarti parthanu chintayan. O Arjuna, by regulated efforts of consecration, with devoted minds focused in concentration, when one practices yoga seeking the union divine, he merges into the supreme consciousness of mind. Regulated efforts by consecration, devotion, the same three what we saw: consecration, concentration, and devotion. So, with devoted mind focused in concentration, when one practices yoga, seeking the union divine, he emerges into the supreme consciousness of mind. So, that time, that consciousness in the individual will help that person face that unknown moment as well. There was a participant who actually, she's a doctor, and she talked about her experience. She got bit by a snake in her hospital only, and she had profuse, she was bleeding, and then it suddenly she went through, like it was almost she was going comatose, and then she got treated immediately. But in that time, she actually she felt she's leaving everything, and she saw some very brilliant, bright light which was overwhelming her. She was not understanding that, and she felt now I have to move towards that light. Suddenly, something in her consciousness told her no, and she started focusing on her child. And focusing on her child, she said, "No, my work is not complete." She just focused on the child only, and she tried to. She knew that somewhere inside of her, she knew it's not her Priyanka. So the consciousness inside only tells us, and she was not knowing. I'm right now. I'm talking about it is her experience afterward. But when it was there, she didn't understand it. But her consciousness was there. It was stable at that time, and she was a very devout person. Somewhere inside of her, that clarity in her mind helped her face that as well. But she says even now, as a doctor who is, she's just she says, I don't really believe in all of this, but this was my experience. She says, even now, whenever I think of it, it shakes me completely because what something else had happened. She said, I saw my child's face. I do not know how I saw, where I saw, because I know I am laying down here, and what is that light there? I don't understand. But that brought her back. She knew now Prayankal is not now. So that yogi knows when to go, when to not also. So this aspect is there, Krishna says. This person, by regulated efforts, when you serve sincerely, seek your actions with full devotion, do all the actions only. You don't have to worry, is what Krishna is saying. My consciousness will only take the person inside. One need not do any efforts as well. Then Krishna goes on to describe that Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Sammanusmaretya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasaha Parastat. This self, the supreme seer, the ancient and most subtle one, the inconceivable being whose golden radiance surpasses the sun, the formless atomic form that holds everything material beyond darkness is the divine, refulgent and ethereal. So this is that Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. It's like even the Kavis of the Puranas. Well, Kavi is not just a poet, these are the seers. Even they cannot describe is what Krishna is saying. What that Hiranya Garbha, that Hiranya Varna, that supreme one, whose brilliance is brilliant, more brilliant than the sun. We cannot look at the sun with our own naked eyes because it's too bright for us. Well, there is this brilliance which is golden and which is greater than the sun, he says. That formless atomic form that holds everything material beyond darkness is that divine. Now, what is the meaning of this formless one? Formless form holding everything. Is it logical? A form, like one side you are saying it is a atomic one, it is a formless one, then it is atomic, and inside of this atomic is the entire universe. Is this logical? It doesn't seem very logical, is it not, to our mind? Now, you see, logical science also has talked about it. At first, there is nothing, everything is made of one entity only, which is called atom. An atomic entity is present inside all living things, non-living things. Everywhere is what science. That is the fundamental, indivisible block, is what they said, inside all human beings. So the great discovery of the century. Everybody congratulated each other for this great discovery. They did not prefer to look at our Sanatan Dharma. They had already talked about Anu, and then they had said there is something smaller than Anu that time also. Renu is also there, what they had talked about. But anyway, so first was the discovery of atom, which was the most finite. Then they said, no, atom is not most fundamental. Inside of atom are still more fundamental particles. protons, neutrons, electrons. So fine, there are nuclear particles, these are more. Then already something which is too tiny, how can that have 3 more parts? But alright, we assume they are fine, alright. Then they didn't stop there also. They started going further inside. Then there are instead of neutrons, instead of electrons, there are other different other particles. They go on to quarks, and now quarks also have so many: up quark, down quark, side quark, color quark. I mean, how many divisions can you make into something which is so finite? Does that not mean there's another universe inside only? In so many regional languages, there is this Pindite Brahmandi. What is there in the Pinda is also there in the Brahmanda. What is there inside that small cosmic form? It's just a representative of the entire universe. It's like you remove all the intramolecular forces, I mean intramolecular spaces everywhere. What is going to happen? Or intra-atomic spaces, you remove everything, our entire Srishti would become like a small ball. It might fit into our hand only. This is something which is crazy. This is the universe. This is how the science of the universe is. Tukaram had also used a similar word when he said Anu Reniya Thokada Tuka Akasha Yoda, smaller than the atom, smaller than the Renu, which is considered subatom, subatomic particle, smaller than that and yet wider than the skies. Well, this is that. This is the subtle one which is beyond everything, is what Krishna says. Brilliant, divine, who is more brilliant than the sun. And Krishna talks about it. He says, Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhruvor madhye pranamavesha samyak satam param purushamapaiti divyam. He who at the time of departure engages in my deliberation, his soul is powered with the force of his firm devotion. At the mystic seat between the brows, by focusing his concentration, he can verily attain my divine and supreme realization. So Krishna says, this is interesting. He says, at the time of departure, who is able to focus, well, that person's, what happens when a person is leaving? Does the body go with the person or it does not? Body remains behind, is it not? Nobody knows what happens after that. One very senior neurologist whom I've had a good chance to associate with, he was speaking about, he said now he's close to retirement. He said, in all my life, he says, in all my life, I've seen so many patients in the ICU. I've seen so many patients in their last moments also. He says, there is something that leaves that individual, and after it leaves, we know all our revival efforts are not going to work. And he said, I'm not able to tell exactly what it is and what is it, from where is it going, where did it go, what was it that went. But we know now that yes, vital signs are showing something, but this person is just being made to breathe or live because of the machine. Something has gone inside and now there is no scope of revival. This feeling, he says, something is there which I do not understand. He says, well, that is it. That's something which is very sukshma. And when it leaves the individual. Krishna is saying that person is powered by the force of the devotion inside of the individual. And then he talks about focusing at this point between the eyebrows. By that, a person can reach the highest state. Have we come across this point between the eyebrows somewhere before in the Gita? Yes. If yes, where? Yes, please. Where is it? And yeah.
When Krishna was telling about the 2 ways to
Meditate. Is it not? So he did not talk about anything why or anything, but that is Krishna's trademark style. He uses one stone. He has one stone to get 2 birds. That's how Krishna does it. Not just 2, sometimes so many. Because why he recommended meditation? He talked about meditation for its benefits in life. He didn't say it's good for life journey ahead also. That is not what he talked about. You become more peaceful, you become more calm and all of it. Now we see that focusing at this point by the yogis, they are generating a kind of conscious force inside of them. And they can get my realization, is what he says. Then he goes on, Yad aksharam veda vedo vadanti vishanti yadya tayo vitaragaha yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe. He says, with what the knowers of the Vedas preach of the imperishable infinite self that one must reach, the gnosis sought through ascesis by the sages and the celibate, that same knowledge to you I shall elucidate. He says, I'll tell you that same knowledge, what the great yogis who knew Vedas knew. Sarvadvarena Sanyamya Mano Rudhi Nirodhya Cha Murdhyadhayat Manaha Pranam Astito yoga dharanam. With all the sensory doors of the being closed, the mind into the heart shut and firmly enclosed, focusing the life force of the body and raising it up to the head. Meditate upon attaining the union with the Supreme Godhead. So all the dwaras, the Navadwaras are all closed and energy is consciously raised. These are probably the ways of yogis' departure is what Krishna is talking about. They are able to focus at this one point and they are able to raise the consciousness there, he says, and focus on the divine. Om iti Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyavaharan mam manusmaran yah prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. Again, Om has been described as something very special and important. By chanting Om, the singular syllable, the vibration of the primordial truth, imperishable. Remembering the overlord, when the body he leaves behind, the highest status of the Supreme he does find. So again, Om is another mantra which is probably helping to raise consciousness. Probably meditation while chanting of Om also is considered a very good thing, because Krishna is saying that is what the yogis do. They are able to go into the state. Many times people just engage in japa only. Om. They just keep on repeating that for a long time. He goes on. Ananya chetaha satatam yo mam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginah. He who practices yoga with an undeviated mind, striving to merge his consciousness with me, him you will find, in whose memory my remembrance never does cease. He, O Arjuna, can attain the union in me with ease. Again, we see Shraddha simplifying anything complicated. He says, somebody who has Shraddha, he need not worry about anything. He can easily practice yoga, he is not going to worry about anything, is what Krishna says. Now, this was actually very interesting because one young 19-year-old in one batch, he's a young astrophysicist. He was very excited because he kept seeing physics principles in this chapter. He said, no, it looks like, Krishna is talking. He wanted to, relate everything to what he had studied in physics. He says, you see, this devotion is giving a kind of force, like a fuel is given to a rocket to take off. So with Shraddha, when you are doing Shraddha, you are adding force. So when you are, it is just body is left behind. So there is no heavy weight. But the soul is so sukshma. The consciousness helps the soul's movement also, is what he was feeling. And then he goes on. Actually, now these so many shlokas are going to come, which are going to talk about different theories of physics, which he was just jumping and bubbling with. His hand was always up. He said, "No, I want to share this. I want to share this." Let us see what Krishna is saying. He says, "Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalaya mashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana sansiddhim paramam gatim." These liberated souls, after having come to my door, descend not into mortal birth once more, and return not to the mortal world transient and full of pain. The highest state of perfection they verily gain. Moksha is theirs. With Shraddha, moksha also comes quite easily, is what Krishna is saying. And then they are free. They are free, is what he says. A Brahma Bhuvanna Lokaha Punaravartinorjuna Mamapetya tu Kaunteya Punarjanma Na Vidyate. Even the beings of Brahma's most perfect planet and all the other worlds are to rebirth subject. But the souls that seek refuge in me alone find release, and their cycles of endless births and deaths then cease. So for him, this I remember that young lad. His name is Atharva. He was saying, no, this is a example. This is directly Krishna is talking about what we theoretical physicists talk about, parallel universe theory. There's a Brahma Loka also, and Krishna is saying that in the Brahma Loka also, people are not so like they also have to experience this birth again, but only that person who's got this supreme devotion can actually get free. Probably that is why even devas have to take birth on earth only and go through all the experiences like a human being. Something special is there in our Prithvi, and through bhakti probably we can realize it and get that mukti as well. Krishna goes on next. Sahasra yuga paryantam arhat brahmani viduhu ratrim yugas sahastrantam teho ratra vido janaha. He who has the eternal Brahma's insight knows the duration of his cosmic day and night. Each single day and night of Brahma's lifespan equals a yoga of man. So again, somebody who gets that insight of whom Brahma is the creator. In that insight, with that insight, Krishna says he understands that there is something which is a day, human night, and there's a cosmic day and there's a cosmic night. So one cosmic day is equal to an entire yuga for a human being, is what Krishna is saying. Again, this young boy was jumping. This is time dilation. This is the principle of time dilation of physics. Now, time dilation everybody knows. When a rocket is also traveling out of space, time proceeds at a different rate. Time moves at a slower rate. How is this connected here? Is this shloka anywhere? Is it clear that Krishna is talking about Brahma's night? Brahma's night and Brahma's day is different from human day and human night. Brahma's night is having a value equal to an entire yoga. Is it understandable or is it relatable, or it's very difficult to relate unless you go to Brahmi Sthiti? Is it relatable, anybody? If not, it is perfectly fine. We don't have to relate. There is no have to in the Gita as well. Krishna has given Arjuna freedom to say, I don't trust anything you say also. Krishna is not minding. So it's fine. But is it relatable? What is this Brahmic night and Brahmic day? Anybody? Yes or no? If no, we'll try to find an example and we'll try to see a relation to it. Is it relatable?
No, I think.
No, it is not. Okay. Okay, just all right. Then I think in rainy season, have we seen these? They call those insects. So many insects come in the rainy season. When you keep the windows open, and the tube light is on, has anybody seen those insects that rush towards the tube light? They call them patang. Is it not? What is the?
There are many.
Is it
There are
not?
many, like innumerable.
Innumerable, Deepti ji. Okay. And how long do they live, Deepti ji?
As long as there is light. After that, if we switch off the light, and then within like few minutes they die.
They die within a few
You see
minutes.
them lying on the floor.
Okay, so do you see them lying? They die immediately in a few minutes, and if you see, maybe they have a few hours lifespan only. No, that way they don't live for so long, is it not? Now, so many of them die. Sometimes you can't count. You'll say, what will I do counting? I have other works. I just take a jhadu and I'll clean it up fully. I don't want to count how many have died. Is it not? So can I say?
Before that also, we immediately from there, where they come, that is also not.
You don't know from where they come. Okay,
From
okay,
where they come, like
okay.
one
From
or two is okay, but then the
so
whole
many.
comes in.
Yes, and I was very surprised in the factory because after like next day morning when I reached, all the staff were cleaning and then they were collecting it, and I was not understanding why are they collecting. They told me they make very good pickles out of it. I was shocked that people eat this, but didn't know this is something in the village which is very common to make. Whatever that may be the reason, for us it sounds gross. How can somebody do that? But if you look at it, Deepti ji, do you not feel sad that they die?
Yes, of course.
But no, means how much do you mourn the loss of each and every one?
No, no, no.
Why is that, Deepti? Are you? Is it because you are heartless, Deepti ji, or what is the
Because
reason?
I'm not connected with that. Like if suppose I'm connected with someone,
Huh?
I feel for someone. I like of course for my family or my dear ones, I would feel. But we don't feel.
Is it not a significant event in your lifespan, the dying of these insects? Is it not a significant event?
We don't give importance.
It is not, is it not? Because your life is so long. Your lifespan is for this insect. The lifespan is only this much, is it not? The lifespan for the insect is 2 hours. For us, it's like,
Even if I kill a mosquito also, it's biting me. I do like this.
huh?
It goes.
Yeah.
One day
So,
my son was asking me, why do you kill it? Don't you feel for
okay,
for that little insect?
okay.
So I said it's going to bite me. He said it's okay. You just shoo that insect away. Don't
Yeah.
kill it.
Okay.
So feel for it.
Gee, okay, yes, but coming back to this only, what I am saying is this particular example only. If you look at it, if you see, it's not that we are heartless or we are cold. We care all of it. But if you look at it, just a few minutes. I have other works to do. I have people to take care of. I have my duties, all of it. In that process, this is hardly an important event for you in life. Oh, these are insects. Actually, oh God, these insects I have to clean up now. That's the only thought that comes in your head. Why? For you, it is a very small moment. But if you look at from the insect's point of view, what is it? It's the entire lifespan. It's like, oh, I've got this light, I've reached the light, I've got it, and then it's all over. So what you see again, a difference of span, is it not? Lifespan. What is a life for this insect? is hardly a few minutes for you. So something like that is this Brahma's cosmic day and cosmic night. Because for human beings, we are like these insects only, and we are like these insects for Brahma. For Brahma's lifespan is much, much larger. It is like that. So that is why it doesn't make a difference in a larger perspective. All the small, small things, something like that, it is in connection with the Srishti. Let's go to the next shloka. Avyaktat vyaktayah sarvaha prabhavantyah ragame ratragame praliyante tatraiva vyakta sanyake. On the day of the Supreme Creator unmanifest, all creations are verily born to manifest. And for all the created beings, destruction comes when the night of the Brahma Supreme becomes. So when the morning is there, that time Srishti Nirman is taking place. When the night comes, it is time for Pralay. It's like a cycle, is what Krishna is saying. For Brahma, Bhutagramah sa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratragame vashah partha prabhavatyah ragame. At the dawn of his day take birth innumerable lives. All then disappear and die when his night finally arrives. And the next dawn once more living entities thrive. And the loop never ends every time the night and day arrive. So it's a cycle. For Brahma also it's a cycle. For all of us also. That is why the great yogis say, no, punarapi janama, punarapi marana. Are we meant to live like this only? Are we meant to be insects? Like insects just trapped in a cycle? Or are we going to search for our higher purpose in our birth, realize it, and then move ahead and fulfill the. There is, of course, a cosmic plan. Krishna has a plan for every Arjuna. He has a plan, of course. Only the Arjuna has to rise instead of getting trapped in this, what we can say, Maya, which makes him feel everything is lost. Because Arjuna's battle was over before the battle began. Why? He got trapped in his emotions only. And now Krishna is there, it doesn't make a difference for Arjuna then. Because now he wants to listen to himself only. He is trapped in that cycle. The moment he comes out of this, what we call the human cycle, then we are willing to receive the higher wisdom, and we are going to perform the higher works that we are meant to be. So yes, each of us is born for realization only. There is nothing, and for in this on the Adhyatic mark, there is nothing called age, there is nothing called time, or all of these are all secondary aspects. Any moment, any time, it is said, Dharma Vruddheshu Vayana Samikshate. Who is young and who is old? A person who is young now was old in the previous birth, is it not? There's nothing. The other person, what is this age and all? What is all of this matter? And there is no time that I started late. Many people feel I started late. There is never late. There is never, no one is early also. It happens exactly when it has to. Even Bhagavad Gita comes into our lives exactly when Gita has to come. It's not because I was late or I was early. I remember I used to run away from the Gita. My mother wanted to introduce it to me and I would go with equal force on the other direction. Now I am not able to come out of the Gita only. Every time, everywhere Gita is only there. So it's something like that. Krishna is saying when the dawn is there, that time innumerable lives are taking birth. And night, there are again so many lives are over. That is Brahma's life cycle. And this is a loop of the Srishti is what he says. But, he goes on, परस्तस्मात् भावोऽन्यत् अव्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सो न विनश्यति. But there still exists in that supreme a divinity, an immutable and supracosmic ethereal entity whose existence can never perish, even when all living things vanish. Krishna says that, see, there is still one supreme entity is there which is beyond all of this, which is beyond the Shara and the Akshara also, which will never perish, he says. Even when everything gets destroyed, there is something that is going to remain. That, he goes on, Avyaktoksharah ityuktaha tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. He is the immutable, unmanifest. It is exclaimed, knowing him is the highest goal that can be gained. Those who attain him return not to the material realm, for they have reached his abode supreme. Those who realize that they have mukti for themselves. We'll just look at one more shloka and then just we'll look at more about this yogis. There is something different about yogis. The prayer and kal of yogis is also different. I'll just see 22nd one. Purushah sa parah partha bhaktya labhastvananyaya yasyantaha sthani bhutani yena sarva midam tatam. O Arjuna, O Arjuna, the gnosis of the ultimate supreme one, by the purest, unwavering devotion must be won. He dwells in all living beings on the earth's face and pervades all matter that exists in space. So he says this knowledge must be won. This is the knowledge that must be realized by an individual, he says, of that supreme being that is dwelling everywhere, this supreme entity which we call the Parabrahma. We have to become conscious of this divinity in our life also, he says. So with this we stop here, and next part we will see how about yogis being conscious. There's something special about the yogis. How is it different? We will see that later. And just one small example I would like to share of one participant only. She's of course at the moment no more, but when she was last year, when she was participating, she was a very senior grandmother. She talked about her grandmother, and while she was talking, she had a way of speaking, and it was very simple. And she was talking in present tense. We were almost feeling we are also with her when she was narrating that. She said, "My grandmother she's very simple," and she started talking about her tale. Well, her grandmother was someone who was like a very devoted, sincere person who looked after only her home. She didn't get the time to even go to different devalayas for darshana also, which people sometimes aspire strongly. And she wanted it, but then for her home was her temple, and she did everything perfectly, very pious, very respected by the society also. And she had a very, what we can say, nice stature, and in terms of her consciousness also, people would respect her, and she was always peaceful and what we see very sattvic kind of individual. And she says there was this. She says this was very special occasion was there. Vaikuntha Ekadashi day was there. That day at home, a lot of guests had come, and she said she went and served everybody all the food. And then she goes to her granddaughter and says, "My Vimana has arrived." That's all she says. And then she leaves after that immediately. And she says, I still remember it, and that was considered to be the most auspicious day also. And she's talked about Vimana. And there are many saints who have talked about Vimana. Tukaram was like his experience. Tukaram had said, I want to be born again. That was what he told. He said, I want to be born again so I can do again bhakti. But no, he got one different type of mukti. That was different. But now you see, this person is not, she did not get a chance to do so many kriyas, so many things, and yet her state was cultivated, her consciousness was in such a way that she actually had, maybe she had even let me serve all the guests who have come, after that I will come, is what may have been her dialogue. Which is so conscious, and she goes to her granddaughter. And this lady also who attended, on her last, she got admitted in the hospital right after the Gita session. It was during Corona pandemic, and that time. But from the ICU, she was talking to people about Gita only, to all her sisters, to all the other people also. And she says, last 1 month only Gita was going on in her life. She has given a task for her daughter to make a book out of the notes. She has written full notes in very beautiful handwriting, and so her daughter is, even her granddaughter is interested in the Gita because of her now. She's just early in 20s only. But you look at this state of mind. There's no fear, there's no frustration, there's no anxiety. Instead, there's a calm peace. Another one very senior sadhika of the ashram, her name is Kusumben. She's no more, but she's probably 95 when she left. But till her last day, she was in charge of the department. She would come and sit in the office. She would watch everywhere, and everybody was afraid of her. She was very frail, very frail. Not that she can slap anybody or anything, nothing. No force would come. But she had a different spiritual force, and her eyes were so perfect. She would watch everyone's movement. She would attend phone calls. Everything was like that. That people actually had fear. And one person came and asked me, "How come you are not afraid of her?" I did not even know there was that side of her, because I would go to deliver my products there, so which our teacher had made, the Ayurvedic products. I would go there, and I just remember how she had just what we can say. She just, while I was taking out the products, she just touched my what we can say, shoulder. And that time I became conscious the moment she touched my shoulder that unnecessarily my right shoulder is down. Because of overwork in badminton, we would use one hand often, so I always had that improper posture. But her one touch, it was like, maybe this is how Krishna had also touched some person and that person had become normal. The power of consciousness, something like that. That was her force, or we can say a very great state of mind, and very humble that she came to my Guruji. Though my Guruji is much younger to her, she came to learn pranayam. While learning pranayam, also she just asked some questions, and then Ramleji was talking about one Anulam Vilom Pranayam, and she said, and he told that someone who does this regularly, both his nostrils get activated. She actually hit her head like this and she said, Acha, I thought there was some मेरा कुछ problem है, there's something wrong with her nostril. She had got that siddhi on her own, but she did not even realize that was her state of, we can say, bhakti. She had devoted her life for the mission which she was serving the divine in the ashram, and that was how her life was. Now, what I am talking about, why I am talking about her is because Prayan Kala was very interesting, is how she called my sister. Now, my sister is much younger to me also. It is like such a big generation gap between her and my sister, and she said, "Come for eating at her place." Now, normally such yogis don't have any kind of gatherings of people and all. So we were all curious, why is she called? When my sister went there, she saw around nearly 15 to 20 people were present, and Kosum Man was moving around, meeting everybody with all the love and respect as a perfect, what we can say, perfect host. No? You're looking after khana acha hai kya, seeing everybody, talking everybody, and we were all a little worried. Why has she done this? She's never done this in so many years. But one thing my sister was saying that yeah, so many people were there at that place, and everybody was happy, and we came back, and but everybody was wondering why has she done it. And the very next day morning, in her sleep, she passed away. So, but this was so crazy that how is she that she had called only all the people who were nice to her. Even I was not invited. My sister only was invited. So many other people. They had some special association, and she was like she didn't want to have any any debt which was remaining. She wanted to clear all of it. So this is the state of her consciousness. Somebody, how was she aware, or what was this? There was. And this is, she was very old in the sense everybody would even ask her, "आप अभी भी यहाँ पे हो?" Meaning, she said she had joked. People come to see me and they ask me, "Are you still here?" Meaning, when are you going to go? That was her state of mind. She didn't care about anything except what her sadhana, her life, her offering to the Divine Mother. That was her way of life. But she was also aware, and there is something about yogis. They are conscious. They are conscious, and so Krishna is now going to focus specifically on the yogis in the next part. We've heard of Bhishma. Anybody knows about Bhishma? Was he waiting for a particular time to move or something? Yes. In the Mahabharata, the story of Bhishma. Is there something to do? Yes, please.
Right.
Yes, yes. Is it not? Uttarayan. Did he have some knowledge that it is better to go in Uttarayan? Maybe Vasudevanji.
Must have had.
Must have had, is it not? So, and he was a yogi himself, like a yogi, is it not? So, yes, there is some higher knowledge, and why is it?
Yogi.
Yes,
He gave us Vishnu Sahasranama.
yes, 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 Vasudevanji. Yes, so he was pretty conscious. So probably now Arjuna is also going to get some wisdom from Krishna and not to get disturbed also, so that there is something yogis are aware of some moments of when to move. What are the forces of of nature also which are going to help move the journey. So Bhishma was willing to wait, even if it meant embracing pain for a longer time. He said, "No, I'll wait." What was the reason? That will be visible in the next part. This adhyay will be completed tomorrow. With that, I'll conclude the Shanti Mantra. Any questions, any queries? You are most welcome. Hari Om. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. हरि ओम तत्सत्. कृष्णा वंदे जगद्गुरुं. हरि ओम. हरि ओम जी. हरि ओम जी. हरि ओम. Any queries? Anybody wishes? You are most welcome. Hari Om ji. Hari Om.
I have a,
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Ji.
Hariom.
Hari Om. Ji.
I have a question.
Yes, ji.
Is it possible to remove Maya?
The Maya cannot be removed. Maya is operating in the world. We can remove ourselves from the trap of Maya, Milanji. Maya cannot be removed. Maya has its own, we can say, Maya api para brahma prasantasya santa rupinam. Maya is also a part of the Srishti only. It's a part of existence. So we'll have
You
to.
give some examples for Maya. How can we, in practical life, how can we realize that this is Maya and we have to get rid of this and all the things?
Yeah,
You
Maya
give some.
is more than because Maya is very difficult. We have to, because our nature is going to bind us to it. By it's like we have to become like the lotus leaf. We cannot remove water from the river. Only we cannot allow it through attachments, no? So like Pushpaji, for example, your expectation, your desire, when you are getting trapped into that, then you can see you are getting trapped in Maya. Sometimes if you look at simple home, if you have children, towards children, there's somewhere you have a attachment which is actually sometimes wrong. The attachment is what is coming preventing you from saying the truth, because when in your relations also you have excess attachment and then you allow everything for your child, or you wonder, my child is not listening to me. Sometimes one mother, she completed she's a retired very senior officer also. She did brilliant work. She was in the CBI also. She done excellent work, unearthed many scams. She had done brilliant work, but always having anxiety for her children. So much anxiety inside of her heart for children, and she's like, I want my children to listen to me. I want my children to do this way. This person is not listening, and all this was giving her worry for so many years. Now, after the Gita, she realized that this is an unnecessary worry that she is holding on to. This unnecessary worry was what probably a Maya which was created, and then suddenly she's just pulled herself out of it, because that perspective changed. Her son was already detached for some reason, so he was joking in front of her only. He told, "Now I have a 60-year-old baby now in the house. Now only she is discovering life without attachment." Now this lady, she says, now I don't need to. I always, all my attachments to my relatives made me do so many things. I wanted them to do a particular way, and this would not happen, and they would manipulate me. All of it. Now everybody is surprised. They are wondering, how did you say no? They wanted me to be a walkover punching bag. Now I am not a punching bag. I have come out of it. This is all Maya. I was trapped in, is what she said. So yes, Dr. Pushpaji, is it anyway relatable? Hari Om. Yes, please.
Thank you, Ji.
Ji, all right. Ji. Hari Om, Hari Om, Ji. Hare Krishna. Hari Om.
I have a question.
Okay, Ji.
Uh, how do you overcome that? What is the way to overcome?
Ji, Sharana, Ji, Sharana of towards the divine, no? Full surrender to the divine. Things are happening your way or things are happening against. I think late Sushma Swarajji's beautiful statements were there about how when something happens according to my will, I call it Krishna Prasad. When things happen against my will, I call it Krishna Ichha.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, ji, Hariom. Ji, ji, Hariom. Ji, ji. So that we can just, that way we can be always conscious. Hariom, ji. Hariom. Hariom, ji. Hariom, Hariom. Hariom. Hariom, ji. Hariom.